It is absolutely insane how much bad information there is on YouTube about credit scores. Everything from credit hacking to fast hacks in order to get your credit higher. It's pretty much all garbage. And as somebody who has been selling credit for the last 20 years of my life, I want to set the record straight and give you the definitive guide to credit scores. And it doesn't matter where you live, what country you're in, this one applies to you. But before I get into it, my name is Nolan Matthias, and if you want to thrive financially, this is the place for you. So do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button so more people like you can see this video. Okay, so like I said, there's so much bad information out there about credit scores, specifically the stuff around credit hacking. I'm going to start by telling you right out of the gate that this is a bad idea. Applying for credit and trying to get free stuff from credit card companies is absolutely insane. There is a reason why they're giving you the free stuff, and it is because they know that statistically they are going to win. There's a reason why they're giving you that $3,000 flight. There's a reason why they're giving you all those points. It's because eventually they're gonna get their money back from you in one way or another. So stop it with the credit hacking, both for the reason that they're going to profit off of you and for the reason that it is going to hurt your credit. Applying for credit so often in order to get free stuff will do nothing but harm your credit score, which for some people that may not be a big deal, but for me, I like to know that I can borrow money if I need to, so I'm going to try to keep my credit score as high as possible. And in that same vein, a lot of the companies that provide your credit score for free are doing so that they can make money off of you. Anytime somebody is giving you something for free, you are the product. Think about Facebook, for example. Think about Instagram. You're the product that they're selling to advertisers. When you go to get a free credit score from somebody, they're going to use that free credit score in order to aim targeted ads at you in order to get you to take out more credit. So don't fall into that trap either. There's lots of places like your bank where you can get your credit score for free without them trying to pitch a whole bunch of targeted credit card ads at you. Now, with those two public service announcements out of the way, let's talk about the factors that affect your credit score. There are 5 basic factors that affect your credit score. The first is your payment history. The second is your utilization. The third is your credit history. The fourth is public records. And the fifth is inquiries. And I'm going to go through each of these one by one so you know exactly how much they affect your credit score and what to watch out for. So let's start with payment history. This is your history of actually making your payments. If you always make your payments on time, this will be a perfect score. And this accounts for 35% of your credit score. This is by far the most important part of having a good credit score, is always making your payments on time. And not only that, you actually have a 30-day window. So if you miss a payment, you have 30 days to make it up before it shows up on your credit bureau as a derogatory payment. Now, once you miss a payment by more than 30 days, this is where blemishes start to show up on your credit report. And they show up in the form of maybe an R2, an I2, or an M2, depending on the type of credit payment that you missed. So an R2 would be for a revolving account, that's like a credit card. An I2 would be for an installment account, that would be like a car loan. And an M2 would be for a mortgage payment. Now, for every additional 30 days that you miss the payment, that rating goes up by 1. So you go from R2 to R3 to R4 to R5. And once you're 6 months late, that's when things get really serious. And that's usually when the loan companies will start sending you to collections. And that leads us to the second factor in your credit, which is public records. Now, public records are things like judgments or collections that are found on your credit bureau. If you lose a lawsuit and a judge says you have to pay this much money, that's going to show up as a judgment. Or if you have something that goes to collections, that's also going to show up in your credit bureau. Now, public records account for up to 10% of your credit score, but if you don't take care of them in a timely fashion, they can linger for a long period of time. And if they are marked unpaid, they can prevent you from being able to get a loan. So if you get into a conflict with a creditor and they send it to collections, make sure that you get it paid and then go about fighting to get your money back. Because if you don't pay it, and you go to apply for new credit, there's a high likelihood that the company that you're applying for a credit with will decline you because you have an unpaid collection or an unpaid judgment. Oh, and by the way, the one type of company that will destroy your credit over non-payment is a telephone company. A lot of people will have a dispute with their cellular telephone company, and in a lot of cases, rightfully so, they'll refuse to pay the bill. The telephone company will send the bill to collections, and then it lingers on your credit bureau until such time as you pay it. So always pay your telephone bill and then go and fight with them for a credit later on. Now, the third thing that factors into your credit score is your utilization. So this is the percentage of credit that you have available that you are actually using. So in other words, just using round numbers here, if you have $10,000 in credit available to you and you are using $10,000 worth of it, that is 100% utilization. That's a bad thing. But if you're only using 20 or 30% of it, so you only have $2,000 or $3,000 outstanding, that shows more responsibility, and that ends up getting you a better credit score. Oh, and if you're over balance, let's say you have $11,000 owing because you've overcharged your credit cards, well, that's even worse, and that is a really fast way to see your credit score go down substantially. On the flip side of that, if you want to see your credit come up real quickly and you have overutilized, the single fastest way to see your credit score come up is to get those balances down really fast. Oh, and utilization factors in for about 30% of your credit score. Now, the fourth factor in your credit score is your credit history. This is the length of time that you have had accounts open. The longer you've had accounts open, the more reliable you seem, and therefore, the higher your credit score. This makes up about 15% of the value of your credit score. Now, the one big mistake people make is they go and they start shutting down their credit cards because they haven't used them forever, and this is bad for two reasons. One is if you shut down your older accounts, that shortens your credit history, making your credit score go down, at least theoretically. And two is if you start shutting down old credit cards and old lines of credit and those types of things, well, it can actually bring your score down because your utilization rate is getting tighter. So in other words, if that $10,000 you have available to you becomes $8,000, but you're still using $2,000 or $3,000 worth of the actual credit, well, your utilization numbers go up because you shut down some of your older accounts. So a good rule of thumb is if you can keep yourself from using your old credit cards and your old lines of credit, keep them open so that they keep your credit score boosted. And last but not least is your inquiries. Now this makes up 10% of your credit score, but if you don't pay attention to this and you apply for a lot of credit in a lot of places, you can ruin your credit score really quickly. We have seen clients that come in with 30 or 40 credit bureau pulls at different car companies. Sometimes they're just trying to get a loan, sometimes they're trying to credit hack, and their credit scores go down quite substantially because they've got all of these inquiries. So even though they haven't actually got the loans, it looks like they're applying for credit. It looks like they're in a bad financial situation because they need credit, and subsequently their credit score reflects that. Now, all of that being said, those are the basics of credit scores. It really is that simple. And the good news is, because it's that simple, there's only a few things you need to do in order to make sure that you have a really good credit score. Oh, and by the way, a really good credit score is anything over about 680. So the first thing you need to do in order to keep your credit score high and good is always make your payments on time or within that 30-day window. The second thing is keep your utilization rates low. So don't get caught in the trap of thinking that you have to use your credit in order to have a high credit score. You don't. All you have to do is use significantly less than what's available to you. And that old myth that you need to put $20 or $100 or $200 on your credit card every single month and pay it off in order to have a good credit rating, well, that is just a myth. It's actually better to have the credit available to you and not need to use it than it is to actually be using it on a regular basis. The only reason why you need to continually use credit at least once or twice a year is in order to make sure that your accounts remain open. The third thing is don't shut down old credit cards. Keep them open for as long as possible. The longer you can continue to have those old credit accounts, the better, because they make your credit history longer. I personally still have the same credit card that I had when I was 18 years old, and therefore my credit history is now more than 20 years old as a result. And last but not least, avoid the whole credit hacking thing. Only apply for credit you need when you need it. Well, it might seem like a good idea to get stuff for free. The reality is it's never worth it. And the amount of time it takes to apply for all those credit cards in order to credit hack could be used to do a lot of other things that could make you a lot more money. Credit hacking is literally stepping over dollars to chase pennies, because in order to get those pennies worth of rewards that they provide you, you have to spend dollars, and that is why they offer it to you. Oh, and if you want to see some additional videos on credit scores, including some that talk about the future of credit scores, which is really interesting, make sure you check out these videos right here.